Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Star Wars Alliance. And then it looks like I just surprised Clay. Sorry, Clay.
Just a little bit. We're all good.
um, you told me that you were ready, so that's why I hit time. I'm sorry. Hi, Clay. How are you doing today?
I am doing very well. I am very interested, like you said, very interested in how today's discussion is going to go because it seems like there is a house divided on this episode, but at the same time, uh, according to your poll, not really. Well, I mean, it's still divided, but not as neck and neck that I thought. So I may be
Oh, I haven't even had a
on
chance to look at the poll.
I may be on the right side of history, or you may be on the wrong side of history. I mean, either way.
Well, I guess we'll have to see. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about today. With Star Wars Celebration, obviously in 2 days. But we also did get some news this kind of, sort
Just a
of.
little bit, yeah.
Just a little. We'll have to see how it goes. But before we get into the discussions on today's episode, first things first, we are part of the Peak Ultimate Podcast Network, where we have 8 shows, 7 days a week, and you can read all about that in the description box below for your reading pleasure. Um, there are 3 ways to support us as a podcast and a network as a whole. The first way is via Patreon, where we have 2 tiers. The $5 tier gets y'all ad-free episodes, exclusive episodes, and any early episodes we may drop. That also gives you access to our live Patreon call-in show, which we are having 2 of this month. So make sure you are paying attention to your inboxes and obviously the social media feeds in order to know when things are going up so that you can come join in the fun. There's also a $1 tier that just helps keep the Kyber crystals charged around here. We appreciate any and all support you can give us. Again, greatly appreciated. The second way to support us is via the ads. We're an ad-supported show, ad-supported network. Clay or I will give you a warning before those ads are to occur, but just so you know now, we don't get to choose who the ads are from, nor how many times you hear the same ad in the same episode, nor how loud those ads are, so that warning is just to help you prepare those volume levels. The third and final way to support us is via rating and reviewing us on your favorite podcatcher of choice. Once again, those really just help put us in the feeds of other listeners who may not be following us on social media. So, and with the reviews this month, or I guess for another 2 weeks, remember if you reach out to our Star Wars Alliance hotline at 830-538-4828, or you send us an email at starwarsalliance@gmail.com, and there is no A in the words, don't forget it. Either one of those, if you reach out to us via those, you get entered into our giveaway to win the Chronicles of the Jedi, which is an in-universe High Republic kind of chronicle of what we've had so far in, I guess, phase 1, at least. So that will get you entered into there. But also, if you rate and review us on a podcatcher of your choice, and then send us the screenshot of that review to one of those, or you can also send us it on Twitter. That gets you an additional entry. Remember, the review alone does not get you into the giveaway. The text or voicemail or email does. So the review just gets you an extra rating. So, or extra entry. Sorry, it's been a long day. So with that, Clay, where do you want to go first?
Let's do weren't we also because I know that you mentioned celebration, but we are still doing our predictions today as well, correct? Or
Yes.
okay. So
Sorry.
let's leave predictions last as we talk a little bit about some of the stuff that was announced, well, semi-announced, but like I said, just like you said, very small news wise. Let's go ahead and this stuff that you not purchased. God, what am I saying? long day, guys. That you posted today with Jordan Mason putting on Twitter was actually a repost of uh uh oh
Amanda
shoot.
Stenberg.
Yes, her post on Instagram talking about the stunt crew on Acolyte. She is with the whole photo here with the stunt crew as well as some of the cast members of the show. Um, and it looks like uh, does this kind of like show that they have like fully wrapped on the stuff? Do you think or
I would say pretty close. Remember what we had heard is the main parts of the cast were filming through April.
yeah?
Um, so some of the cast could be wrapped by now. Obviously, we've had a lot from Joni Turner Smith. So um, she might have wrapped by now because she also said she didn't film any scenes with Amanda. So just
Oh,
goes
that
to
is
show
true.
you kind
Yeah.
of how things are progressing. But Amanda and I believe, oh my gosh, I can't remember his name, the guy from Squid Games. They were both filming, I believe, through the end of April.
Mhm.
So not officially wrapped, but very close. I feel like I do think probably the celebration goers are going to see an acolyte trailer of some sort with the footage that has been shot. Once again, very jealous, and will evaluate it from a hopeful cell phone grab. Sorry, Star Wars.
Yeah,
Also, just as a heads up for those who are unaware, Quest for Planet X came out today, or yesterday. I'm sorry. Cataclysm came out yesterday as well. Please go check out our review of that. It is live on, I still think, the GUA podcast feed, so you can check that out now. We will be reviewing Quest for Planet X either next week, depending on how celebration news go, or the week after. And then also, for those who are interested, the High Republic paperback set for the young adults came out as well. And it has three exclusive covers, one for Wreath, one for Vestasha, not Vestasha, oh my gosh, Vernestra, and then the other for, oh my gosh, Z, I think it's Z, the girl
yeah,
from the High Republic Adventures.
yeah.
All in the Game is in the chat throwing me the Squid Games actor's name,
Oh,
Lee Jung-jae.
yeah.
Thank you. All in the Game.
I knew it was Lee something. I just couldn't remember how to
I did
pronounce.
too.
Yeah, but I have just finished doing the Twitter stuff, so I am putting that out there now. Uh, but I am very excited. Speaking of the quest for Planet X, uh, I forgot to pre-order a physical copy. Will be purchasing that later this week, but thankfully, uh, Katie posted a tweet that actually showed that currently the Kindle version is 99 cents. I
Yes,
went
you're
ahead
right.
and purchased that as well as used my credit for the audiobook. Now, I do have a little bit of chores that I'm going to be doing throughout the night, and I will be listening to it today and tomorrow. And it is actually a pretty short audiobook. I think it's around 5 hours and 26
Yeah.
minutes. So, for those of you who are a little worried about investment and everything else like that, it does look like, of course, just like any other young reader uh, in these phases of the High Republic, they are pretty small.
Yeah, it is. It does look like it's one of the bigger ones of the middle grade books. I think it clocks in at about 32 chapters. But
Yeah.
obviously, highly encourage getting the physical copy because there's some great artwork in it. Um,
Yes. Always.
but they're also really easy reads and they're a great story. Just because they're middle grade does not mean they're not good. So,
I think some of our favorites in the High Republic have been the middle grade stories. I mean, one of our favorite characters of all the High Republic being Bernestra,
Yep.
is been the almost lead character of of at least the first wave, um,
Yep.
of the High Republic stuff. So go check them out. Really, really fun. Looking forward to starting that read tonight.
So next up, we did kind of get, I guess, some news of the Lando show.
I
Um,
okay, I don't really call this news. I'm sorry. I think it was in our group chat. It was, I believe, Chris that posted this, and my response to it was, that's all that Lucasfilm does, is because the phrasing was that they are in talks to keep
yep.
the Lando show going and still making it work. And again, even oh shoot, forgetting his name. I'm horrible with names. Uh Main actor.
Billy D. Williams,
No. Playing younger
Donald
Lando.
Glover.
Yes, Glover, I believe he is quoted saying, "Oh yeah, we just got to make it its own thing," or something along those lines. Or I think it's something along those lines, or something about like uh trying to make it the best that it can be, or some generic answer like that. And when an actor gives me a generic answer like that, I just assume, yeah, no, it's not being worked on, or at least it's still in the very, very, very early stuff to where I probably shouldn't be looking forward to this anytime soon.
Yeah.
Because Lucasfilm is always working on stuff. It's the fact that, is it gonna be coming out? That's what I'm more worried about. Like, it's the idea of not announcing anything until it is a for sure thing, and that's what we as Star Wars fans have kind of been kicked to the curb like several times, of like, oh yeah, this is coming out. Not really. Oh, this is coming out. Well, on second thought, oh, this is coming out. Oh no, never mind. Neither is that. And
Yep.
it's just getting very tiresome.
100%. I yeah, I wish they would kind of get stuff together, and I guess we'll see how Celebration goes this week. Um, to see if that's the case or if that's not the case. Because it'll be interesting, especially after the reactions to today's Mandalorian episode.
Ooh.
Um, so
Oh, well, that is very true. On the Game does bring up a really good point. Uh, he's already lost a couple of shows with the animated Deadpool and the Amazon Mr. and Mrs. Smith reboot. This is probably going to be the third show that he is probably not going to be working on. And we also have to remember, he is Donald Glover is working on a Sony movie where he
mhm.
is the lead while also being the producer. I believe he's an executive producer on it. One of the two. Uh, Chris, Brent, if you guys want to correct me on that, please do. But I do believe that he is going to be heavily involved with the making of that movie, because he is going to deal a lot with music in that movie, and music is one of his biggest passions. So
Yeah,
it may be
and
a weird passion project for him.
and I mean we've seen it with Atlanta. He doesn't want to push something forward unless it's perfect. So I think I would love to see this show come to light. I think it would be perfect to have Billy D. Williams narrate, and just kind of reiterate the journeys his character's been through. So I just hope that they can get things figured out. It would be nice.
Yeah, for
Uh,
sure.
the last bit of news that we had today came from One Take News, and it it's another director for Skeleton Crew, Jake Schreier, I believe is how you pronounce his name. Um, who is currently scheduled to direct Thunderbolts. Obviously, things can still change. Um, never going to officially announce anything because things can change all the time. Um, so he is going to be directing an episode of Skeleton Crew. So what do you think about this?
So I am looking at Schreier's previous work right now, and I'll be honest with you, I don't think I know him from anything. So looking at it now, it looks like he has only directed, well, he's directed a lot of stuff, a lot of TV stuff. Um I think his most recent one is the TV series Beef. Apparently, it is, I think, currently at 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. So that's really good
Oh,
on both Lucasfilm and Marvel Studios' part. Um, but looking at his other work, I don't think I've really seen anything from. He's directed a couple or one episode of Shameless. Uh, I haven't seen anything from him, and I think currently, when it comes to what I will probably see first of his work, will be the Skeleton Crew. Now, the Skeleton
yeah.
Crew has or is confirmed for this year, right?
Supposed to be confirmed for this year. But remember, Book of Boba Fett was confirmed for 2021 and aired
The
its first
last
episode
3
aired
days.
the last 3 days of 2021. So it'll be interesting to see. I think we're gonna get a potential release date because the last time I was like excited about release dates from Star Wars Celebration, they changed them.
Yeah.
So potential release date it is until it's 2 months away, and we'll figure that out. So
Do you so speaking of that, I know that Celebration and our predictions for it, excuse my dog, sorry. Um I believe like we will get something there, but knowing how Lucasfilm has been in the past, do we think Lucasfilm with Disney Plus will start to act more like Netflix in the sense of like, hey, we're going to show you some footage, we're going to do very little marketing for these shows, but we won't share hardcore release dates or trailers until a month before or whatnot.
I mean that's basically what they're doing already. So
Well, I feel like we've gotten a lot of release dates. Now, I believe it was, gosh, maybe a month ago, maybe 2 months ago, we did get news on, like, the release windows for all the shows, for Lucasfilm, and it was very generic, summer of this year, winter of
yeah,
this year, spring of this year, so on and so forth. So I guess you're right. It's for me, I just get anxious not knowing, like, we knowing that it's done, but not knowing when it's gonna air. For me, I'm super freaking selfish, and I just
right,
want to get a release date so I can request off and just watch it that day. Like that's just who I
exactly.
am.
That's who we both are. Who are we kidding? Uh, no, because I mean, if you look back, Book of Boba Fett, funky release date. Bad Batch was predicted. We talked about Bad Batch's potential release date for a year,
Yeah,
and it went spring 2022, summer 2022, fall 2022, winter, and then it was January 1st or whatever it was.
yeah.
So,
Yeah,
and
that
yes,
one was a
follow the
very
game.
weird one. And yeah, I just wanted to pull this up. On the Game does ask, this is the show John Watts gave up directing Fantastic Four, right? Yes. Yes, he did. He did give up Fantastic Four for this show. Um, there has been very weird rumblings before all of the director announcements that like production was very odd and like there may have been some tension, but like it has been very quiet since then, so I don't know if, like, people got hush money and, like, everything's okay now, or if everybody's just forgotten about it, and we'll just see how the show is when it finally comes out. So,
Yep,
I
yep.
think that is it for the news. Um, so You want to go into your predictions for Star Wars Celebration?
Yes. So my thought process is we can bring up the Star Wars Celebration panel schedule, which of course they did announce today. Oh, here's how you can watch Star Wars Celebration from home, and none of the big panels are a part of it at all whatsoever. I'm
Of course.
hoping the High Republic panel is going to be a part of it.
Now, did they do this last year?
They did. And Star Wars Celebration, High Republic was a part of it.
Okay.
So, all right, let's see. Is it going to do the thing? Okay. So, Lucasfilm Studio Showcase, 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. on Friday, which means this is, I think, 5 a.m. Friday. I think
So
UK
yeah,
is 6 hours ahead.
I was gonna say, is this technically UK hours?
It's got to be UK hours.
Okay. So I have to, like a ignorant individual, UK to Central Standard Time. All right.
Oh, so it's
So
gonna be 4 a.m. for you because I think
yeah.
it's 5 a.m. for me.
Let's see here. Yeah, so currently it is well, hold on. Am I not Central Standard Time? Why is this saying it's 5:28? Oh, because of stupid daylight savings time. God, it's so stupid. So
um,
currently it's supposed to be 5:28 if it wasn't daylight savings time. And then it would be 12 like nearly 12:30 a.m. So with that in mind, if it's nearly 12 hours, yeah, it would be closer to 4 a.m. My time, or 5 a.m. my time, when all of this is going down. Oh my god, this is gonna suck. We're gonna
it's
get bombarded with news like first thing in the morning.
yes, like gonna roll out of bed, and thankfully I have Friday off. And I think I'm going to take tomorrow off too with what happened today. Um, so I will be sleeping and then waking up. But okay, Lucasfilm's Studio Showcase. This is basically the big ticket items. Um, you have a lot of potential here because you could go movie, you could go show, uh you could go special event. I think we're getting at least 3 movie announcements here. What do you think about movies here?
Okay.
Also, excuse me, y'all, I got in the door 5 minutes before we went live, so I needed dinner.
Okay. So, and we're still talking about the showcase, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Um, it's weird because the showcase has three different, like if you scroll down, it's like
Yeah.
11 to
So
12:30, 11 to 12:30, 11 to 12:30. So I don't know why they would.
yeah, because it's got it's streaming because it's their biggest event. They stream it to 2 other stages at the same time.
Oh,
Yeah. So that way they can get the max amount of people involved in the panel.
fancy. Okay. Anyway, um it does say here celebration returns launching with a must-see showcase that will kick off the weekend's festivities into hyperdrive. I it's I don't know. I don't know. I want to say that we will probably get a movie announcement, but I 3 movie announcements, that is like I think it will happen as far as the announcements. As far as
But
the
will the movies
movies,
happen?
exactly. So like does it really count for them to announce a movie that doesn't happen? Like that's the thing.
Oh, on the game asks, is it even wise anymore to make movie announcements? We've broached this question several times. I think it boils down to DC with the Flash. they couldn't actually cancel The Flash because it was one of their most hyped up movies. So they just kept pushing back the release dates. Um, and so I think it's best to be honest with your fan group. And I know Clay's going to disagree with me on this. I think it's best to be honest, but I think it hurts because most people don't understand the production process. So you can say X, Y, Z, A, B, C is in development all day long, but just because they're in development doesn't mean they'll ever reach daylight. So I
Correct.
think that's where you run into issues.
Correct. I think that Star Wars fans are almost like, well, I mean, I'm gonna say it. Star Wars fandom is just like any other fandom. And people may think they're more extreme, whatnot, blah, 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 whatever. It doesn't really matter. The point of what I'm trying to get at is people who love Star Wars can talk all the crap about Lucasfilm
Mm-hmm.
and Star Wars they want, but will always be there day one of any announcement, of any toy release, of any
Mm-hmm.
show announcement, of anything, whatnot. So I don't like the studio is taking advantage of that and basically stringing along millions and millions of fans, taking millions and millions of their hard-earned dollars to go to these things like Celebration and ultimately just be like, "Hey, I got you really excited about this movie that's never gonna happen."
Mm-hmm.
I don't really like that. But I understand as a multi-billion dollar company, and studio that they're going to do it to make more money. Like, that's just the way things go, right? So as far as is it wise to make movie announcements? With their track record, no. But for their business standard, yes. You know?
Yep.
I'm gonna go ahead and say 2 movie announcements, not
Okay.
3.
So are you counting the one that we believe is starting filming this summer? Because I'm counting that one.
Ooh. Yeah. I'm going to count it and still say 2
Okay.
because that one still doesn't have a title or anything. It's just, hey, there's a movie under Lucasfilm that is in production.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so the other part that has typically been a part of this Lucasfilm Studio showcase is show announcements. And kind of like okay, here's where we're at in production. Like we've got that with Mando last year. Like Book of Boba Fett, they came on, talked about it, kind of thing. So right now, currently, we've got Ahsoka, Skeleton Crew, The Acolyte, and Andor season 2. Obviously, you could probably throw Mando season 4 in there. Do you think we're going to get any more show announcements? Like for new shows?
Ooh.
Because right now, next year, you only have Acolyte, which is supposed to be coming spring 2024. And then Tony Gilroy and Diego Luna have already said Andor season 2 is coming fall, winter 2024.
Was Visions season 2 a part of Celebration last year?
I don't remember. I do know they had a panel. I believe it was announced as part of like a retrospective panel.
Okay. Um because I think another year of Visions is all I see. As far as new stuff, um as far as like semi new, I'm gonna wait until our discussion for Mando to say something that people may not agree with, but I think is a really big possibility.
Yep. I also don't think Bad Batch season 3 or a Bad Batch Ender event, depending on how they go with it. I don't think that's going to be a part of this discussion. I think that's going to be saved for the panel on Monday.
I could see it being uh part of something else. Yeah, for sure. I just don't
Yeah,
unfortunately, I don't think it's big enough to put on this stage.
according to people, because I think this is typically like your live action stuff.
Mhm.
So, which sucks, obviously. Nothing you can do about it, really. Okay, so what is up next? Okay, we're hitting the big panels, y'all. Obviously, there's like remembering 40 years of Return of the Jedi. Sorry, we're not talking about that. Um,
So,
uh, I think that's the biggest panel on Friday.
I
So
think so. Really, the only thing that's really up our alley, um, would be the book stuff as far as predictions go, because everything else is just a generic, like, "Hey, we're gonna be talking about this individual show being The Mandalorian, this individual show being Andor," you know, probably a retro panel on Clone Wars, like, that's just what Celebration is. Uh, I don't think we have much of anything else. I haven't taken a look at the panels themselves, though.
right. So the next big panel, I'm just gonna go through the big panels. That way, people kind of have an idea of when everything's gonna play out. Um, the next big panel is the Ahsoka panel, um, which will just be a look at the Ahsoka panel. It is again Saturday, 11 a.m. UK time. Um, so
Do you think we are going to get, I can't remember his name because he was only announced last year. Do you think we get a full costume reveal uh of Ezra or something? Actor
I
appearance.
think so. I think we'll get to see everybody in costume. So I would imagine we're gonna get a Thrawn actor reveal here. Because it's gone back and forth. Lars Mikkelsen has been like, oh no, I wasn't hired for that role. I don't know who was. But then other people are like, oh, it's Lars Mikkelsen. But then we've heard other names.
Well,
So
I mean, according to Taylor over at Geekverse, he thinks that Thrawn could quite possibly be showing up in Mando this season. So we have how many episodes left? Two, I believe, in
yep.
this season. Uh, not sure how. I mean, this episode was a very big detour. Um, and we will talk about it later. But it would be interesting to if they. Uh, I I
Because you
I
could show Thrawn, but it's just the back of his head, and you would have no idea who the actor is.
that's a cop out. Just show him. Just show him.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that. Uh, any other prediction type things? I don't think we'll. I think we'll get possibly the person who's playing Zeb in live action, and probably Steve Bloom because it looks like based on The Mandalorian, Steve Bloom is going to be providing the voice
Mhm.
for Zeb. But is
Yeah.
he playing?
That would be interesting to see. I mean, we had in over at DC, uh, Steve Agee, I believe that's how you pronounce his last name, um, is of course Akadamos in the Suicide Squad and Peacemaker, but he is actually the mocap body of King Shark in Suicide Squad, but he didn't voice
Oh,
him. So it would be interesting to see if he does end up being the mocap body for Zeb or if he's just playing the voice.
I don't think that's a mocap. That looked real.
I believe that was mocap.
Mm,
I think that
it
was
looked
all
really
CGI.
good for mocap.
I'll have to take a better look at it, but I think that all of that was CGI.
Okay. Um. So, what are you hoping for out of Star Wars Celebration? While I scroll to the next big panel.
So out of Star Wars Celebration, I think of course everybody was super excited about Hayden Christensen being a big part, of course, because of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Um, I want it's this is a out there. This is I would say this is a Taylor level prediction. Darth Vader series. I'm gonna throw it out there. Not gonna happen, but this is a Taylor level prediction with Darth Vader, and I'm gonna say it is set between the Revenge of the Sith and Obi-Wan Kenobi.
See, but I feel like because okay, so Charles Soule's Darth Vader series was between Revenge of the Sith and Obi Wan Kenobi.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like you'd allow people, the authors, to play in that playground without it, like, because we saw they canceled the Mandalorian novel. So why
They
would you allow authors in there?
so for me, I think just like the way that in the same light as Travis always tells us, books and comics are canon until they're no longer canon. And with comics, I think you can use them as reference and kind of break canon because unfortunately, when it comes to the general audience, you're going to know more people that read the books than you do the comics.
Hmm.
So, I think that everything that we have read comics wise is something that still can be meddled with when it comes to live action.
And
I don't like it.
maybe that's why they brought Charles Soule on as like a storyboard person for shows, because he was brought on to be a part of Lucasfilm staff.
Oh, really? I don't remember us covering that. I did not know that.
It was a while ago.
Okay, okay. I mean, if that's the case, he may pull Filoni and just be like, "No, that's my baby. You can't touch it," type of thing. Or he might see it as a way to say, "Hey, I've done this before. Let me be a part of the writers table for this Darth Vader series." Again,
Mhm.
like I said, this is a and I'm still going to say Taylor level prediction because I love you, Taylor. You have some crazy out there predictions on many of shows that you've reviewed for. So I'm going to say my biggest is the Darth Vader stuff. Um, and then I'm going to say uh, my other want is my other move. Well, I was gonna say my other movie announcement is one that is post Rise of Skywalker, but that's the rumor for the one that has been semi-announced
Yeah.
as far as in production. Um, I'm gonna say because see, and another well, I guess you're right in the sense of talking about like live action or TV shows not really being able to touch what the comics and books are touching because Acolyte is in that awkward area
Hmm.
between the uh
High Republic and
y-
Phantom Menace.
yeah. So but it's technically a part of the High Republic story, but it could
Yep.
be like the bookend of the High Republic story.
Yep.
Um Because I would say
The,
I want another, like, Deep in High Republic live action show. If
yeah.
not if not, I want a Clone Wars duplicate in the High Republic.
I would definitely be down for that, especially something like kind of starring Avar, Stun, and Eldar. I think that would be really cool.
Yeah.
The other thing that I had forgotten for the Ahsoka panel before we move on to the High Republic panel, which is Saturday 1 to 2 p.m. So it's after the Ahsoka panel. Um, So the other thing I would say for the Ahsoka one is that I want Hayden Christensen confirmed for a flashback in Ahsoka.
Because it's still
For
rumored. It's
Clone
not
Wars.
confirmed, right?
Right. Oh, I want that confirmed. So that would be my biggest thing. So for the High Republic, um, the biggest thing, I believe Zoraida is not making it, and I don't think Justina is making it. Zoraida was trying to go, and I'm so sad for her because I know she loves going to Star Wars Celebration and stuff. But I don't think Justina's going, and Justina dropped social media when the whole thing with Twitter happened. So I don't know why Justina's not making it, but obviously it's their own choices and everything. So but for this panel, it says including all new announcements and reveals, and this is the key word here: Star Wars: The High Republic Phase 2, and a sneak peek of what's to come in Phase 3. What the hell is left for Phase 2?
Um. So from what I can remember, technically, Yoda has Yoda finished yet? Actually, the comic.
I don't think so. I think they just did issue 5, and then it's supposed to be 10 issues.
Yeah.
So
So
it's got another couple months.
okay, so Yoda is still technically within the timeline of phase 2. So I would say we probably get a little bit of a sneak peek with that. We still have adventures that is still the story is still going there.
Right.
Um I think that I still need to read them, but uh you even sent me the
I
screenshot
had to. Okay, I had to talk to somebody about it, and I was
of
like, "Oh my
at,
gosh!"
at the end of the blade we get the oh so famous words will
Porter
return.
Ingle will return.
Well, Porter Ingle will return. So I think there could be some more insight on possibly a sequel series to that. Um,
Would you? Would you? Okay. Well, I can't ask you that because you haven't read it yet. Um, would you think that sequel series would be Phase 3 oriented, or well, I mean, we've talked about this. His sister, because you've read parts of it.
yes, I have.
Okay, so this is no spoiler because we have talked about this.
Hmm.
His sister is Barash, and obviously we've learned about the Barash vow and everything.
Yeah.
So would you think, based on that assumption of Barash vow happening, would you think it's going to take place like Phase 2 and it's going to be more like a graphic novel, maybe 2 issues? Or would you think it's going to be Phase 3 where we get him kind of recovering it because we don't know how long Barash lives? So,
Um, I would say because because he showed up in phase 1, right? Um,
yes.
and we knew that, and so that's why everybody was hyped up for this miniseries. I would say yes. I would say that he would be a part of phase 3.
Okay.
Because I think that could be kind of your stepping stone into the sneak peeks of phase 3 here. Because like it says, phase 2 and a sneak peek of what's to come in phase 3. Um, I think that
This
would
is
be
all new announcements, which is confusing.
that is true. Which technically it would be an all new announcement, but technically it would be for. Well, see, it says all new announcements and reveals from Star Wars High Republic Phase 2. Oh, and a sneak peek
And a sneak peek. So, what is
Ooh,
new in the
in
High
Phase
Republic
2.
phase? Can I tell
Uh,
you what Porter Ingle will return in? Can I tell you the title? Because they did say the title.
yeah, I'm fine with that.
The Broken Blade. So
Ooh,
you think about that and then talk about that, and then I'll be right back.
The broken blade. Now I hmm, of course, like the really big thing on on his whole part and Soul was really big into was making his blade stance and his fighting style very unique, to the point of something that we have never seen within Star Wars. Um, Broken Blade is very, very interesting. I'm actually going to look up the announcement here. Star Wars, the Broken Blade. Um, so it says here in a Reddit post, it says here that sounds like the first tease of phase three. Oh, thank goodness I enjoyed the blade for too much, far too much to be done with Porter stories after 4 issues. Interesting on how it plays out. As far as the time skip goes, I'm not seeing much of anything else on this announcement. I think it will be. I think that's what it'll be. I think that uh the new announcement, see, because if it is a part of phase three, the including all new announcements doesn't make sense for phase two. Um, because as I had said in our review of Cataclysm, so please, everybody who is reading the High Republic, go check out our review for Cataclysm. It is very high on both mine and Katie's list for any and all Star Wars books. But I had said that everything in phase two so far leads up to Cataclysm, with the Path of Vengeance being the epilogue. If Path of Vengeance is the epilogue, then there really shouldn't be anything else within the High Republic. When you read a novel, the last thing is the epilogue. There's nothing else there. Um, I don't know if it would make a fluidity sense to add something at the end when, well, I mean, I haven't read the book yet, but like as I said, with the assumption that Path of Vengeance is the epilogue and then something else coming after it, it may just feel weird, when reading it all
Right.
together.
But we still have the manga to come. We still have the Edge of Balance manga after this.
But
And that was always set to come after Path of Vengeance.
but the and of course, I will reiterate something that Soul and every other person that has been a part of these High Republic phases has said: the best reading order is the release order. Um, but that's not always the timeline order,
Yep.
because when we look at these books, I think it was in particular um the Mission to Disaster and Midnight Horizon um
Hmm.
were technically supposed to be released in that order, but I believe it was uh Midnight Horizon that ended up being first, and then
Yep.
Mission to Disaster had some very weird release problems,
Yeah.
and the only way we were able to read it early uh was technically listening to it in audio form, because
Yep.
Random House Worlds and Penguin Random House released it on Audible, and I guess it was on
Disney, not
purpose.
Random House Worlds.
That's right. It was Disney Publishing that had released it. So it's very odd the way that some of these things come out, but I'm still gonna think the manga, which is of course Edge of Balance Volume 3, I still think that it may be the uh it has to be,
Post credit.
according no, I because according to our discussion and minor spoilers for Cataclysm, for those of you who even care about reading the books, minor spoiler, one of the characters from Path of the Deceit at the very end, we talked about this in text form. The
Hmm.
character that is at the very end of Path of Deceit is nowhere to be seen in all of phase two, but is apparently a character within the Edge of Balance Volume 3. But according to the Wikipedia, he dies off the page because we don't read about him during the battle that took place in Cataclysm.
Yep.
So clearly, the timeline is not matching up. So I still think Path of Vengeance is supposed to be an epilogue.
I think so too. Especially with I think the mother is on the cover, so we know what happens in Cataclysm. Um, I think that's the epilogue. The biggest thing, and the reason I ask about the Broken Blade is what if that's setting up for a trilogy of comics to where he's recovering, Barash going off, and then you have the new Blade or whatever for Phase 3. What if it's something like that? And we're getting like basically they're delaying Phase 3, and so they're giving us this story to tide us over.
I don't like that.
I don't like it either, but
Uh,
I'm like trying to figure out how another comic fits into Phase 2, I guess.
I think if anything, what we can still learn, because it is still a very big mystery to us, is the mystery of the nameless. I think the leveler and all of that. I think you can still play with that a little bit and not get too deep into the characters or the lack thereof because of the horrific endings that our characters seem to always find themselves in Star Wars stories. I want a happy ending, Lucasfilm. Um, but
Read Quest for Planet X and then come back to that.
oh, don't tease me, Katie. Don't. Have you read it all? Have you read it all already?
I have 28 minutes left in the book.
God. Okay. Okay. I will listen to it tonight. Like I said, I will listen to it tonight. Um, but I think you can still play with that stuff. I still think that a lot of the, because it's one of our biggest questions at the end of
Mhm.
Cataclysm still. So and of course it's a still a technically a big mystery in phase 2. So even giving us a little bit of insight, more so than the actual characters know, is something that I still would find intriguing to see what they could do with it in phase 3
Yeah.
for sure.
All right. So do you think that would potentially be it for new announcements for Phase 2 of the High Republic?
I think so.
Okay. So what do you think they're going to be announcing for Phase 3? I'm guessing that it's just going to be Wave 1. I'm thinking obviously Cavan Scott on the Marvel comic. I think he's got to finish out what he started, and he's been killing it. So, um,
I'm
and
saying it
then
now. I think if you want a big announcement for even the sneak peek of phase 3, even if it's literally just this one freaking slideshow on your PowerPoint that you're
Buryaga
presenting,
lives.
literally just a picture of Buryaga, and be like, all right, that's phase 3, see you later, everybody would go nuts. I
Oh,
think
that
they'll
would
do
be
it.
cool.
I think they're gonna
That
do
would be
it.
cool. That would be cool to maybe start the panel off with and just be like Burry lives, and then everybody gets up and leaves, and then they come back and they're like, "No, we're just kidding. Like we got more to tell you." Uh, no, yes, I think hopefully they will be confirming some characters live or die because it's important and we need to know before we get hearts broken in Phase 3 already. Um, I think Daniel Jose Older is going to be on the High Republic Adventures. What do you think about that?
um
I think they
I
both got to finish out the series.
Yeah, I think that with the characters that they've touched up upon, I think to kind of wrap it up in a bow, would be nice, and be very poetic, for them to be able to finish the stories that they started. Um, I think it would make sense.
All right, so then my best guess for Wave 1, because I don't think we're going to get more than Wave 1 in this. I think it's too early for that. I think you've got obviously the adult book, the young adult book, and the middle grade book.
Yeah.
Who do you think's writing those? Just best guess.
Ooh. So, question, because
Mhm.
again, we I don't think we know this, but I want to ask this anyway in case we do know. Is phase 3 the beginning of the end of the High Republic?
As the as the publishing initiative that was originally announced, yes, I believe Phase 3 is called The Truth of the Jedi. So it
Okay.
was The Light of the Jedi, Quest of the Jedi, Truth of the Jedi.
Okay.
So, does that
If
answer your question?
yes, yes, because if I if I know that this is going to be our High Republic trilogy, would we say? Um I would then put oh shoot, who was um oh, I don't know. I don't know, this is a hard one. On the
So,
adult
can I
book,
tell?
I'm trying to decide who I would really want on the first adult novel and who I want on the last. Because that's gonna be your bookend.
Yep,
When because even as just the casual readers, like our friends over at Geekverse, Taylor and Travis, they're only reading the adult novels, I
yep.
believe, and maybe
I think they
the
read a couple of the first wave for young adult.
yes.
Because I know Snell read Into the Dark.
Okay, okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. So even just like casual readers, they're probably only gonna be reading the adult novels. So you
Mhm.
know those have to be like bangers on that. Um, I would say because I think it has to be a mix between phase 1 and 2 because I think a lot of people are I think a lot of people loved Convergence
Mhm.
and I haven't looked at the reception yet. I did look at the of course uh early embargo uh uh
Tweets and stuff.
tweets and stuff. People loved freaking Cataclysm.
Mhm.
I think Lydia Kang is definitely up there as potential as for one of the top writers for Phase 3. Um, but I also think it started with Soul, it might end with Soul. So I think
That's what
Soul
I'm thinking. I think you have to put Soul back in the mix. Like, I
mhm,
need another Star Wars novel from him. Like, he started it, let him end it. I'm thinking you put Claudia Gray on the first book
I think so too.
because you pick up Fallen Star was not as well received as the rest of the books. I think you have to put her there and go, okay, this is the story I want to tell, and this is how I'm finishing the cleanup of Starlight Beacon and how everybody's
I was gonna
recovering.
say it literally it would pick up literally as the last book. I mean, Midnight Horizon was there, but the when talking about the adult books, the things that most people are gonna be picking up, I think you have to start there. And putting Gray on that book would only make sense to have most of the callbacks and tie-ins and everything else. So I
Mhm.
think Gray being there on the first book, I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say Gray, Kang, and Soul for the adult novels.
Okay.
That's what
I
I'm gonna put on
really
that.
want I really want Cav and Scott back up there. But I love Cataclysm and like I would be excited to see Kang back up there.
But see, remember, Scott also wrote The Tempest Runner. So you
He
still
wrote
have
yeah,
potential. Sorry, it is right up there. You have potential for him to still write something in a large scale, but
yeah,
it necessarily not be one of the novels. It can be one of the scripted stuff like the audio dramas.
you're
So
right.
I'm still gonna give Scott the possibility of still writing something pretty big in phase 3, but I think because there may be some people that never had the chance to jump in immediately in phase 1, so they started to jump into phase 2 because they heard, oh, it's a prequel to phase 1, so go ahead, read phase 2, read phase 3 while we're getting into read phase 1, sorry, while we're getting into phase 3, and I think it works out very well, meaning that they get attached to some of these writers in phase 2, you have to put them into phase 3.
See, but when we talked about why they were bringing the new authors in, my thought process was they were bringing these authors in, and yes, obviously you had people still writing, like you had the original 5 still writing in phase 1.
Yes.
But I'm sorry, you had the original people writing in phase 2. But I think they brought in more authors so that they could A, put their own mark on the story, but then B, give the phase 1, the original authors, time to write for phase 3.
Which is why I think Gray, Scott, and Soul are definitely going to be in phase 3.
Yeah.
Because Scott, and I mean, I'm not going to say that it's not hard work. Scott was just on the comics. I think the scripts for comics are a little
Scott
bit.
had Path of Vengeance, though.
Oh, he does.
Yeah.
Ooh, I don't know why I didn't know that.
This is why I'm afraid of getting hurt when reading Path of Vengeance. Kevin, please don't hurt me.
I mean, Kevin also gave us the Raging Storm, so
I know.
so I think that there's a big possibility that we will all get hurt in the Path of Vengeance. I swear, Scott, if you kill Yana, we're gonna have some words. We're gonna have some words. Just don't do it. Please don't do it. But yeah, I think that Soul, Gray, and Scott are definitely going to be in phase 3. I think that they will be able to. They introduced us to these characters. I think they only have a right to bookend the characters as well. Um, I do get what you're saying, like the whole idea of bringing in new writers so that other writers can have time to write those books, those comics, or whatever. It's not an easy task. Writing is still writing.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard no matter what. Um, but see, I kind of have to hold back on thinking that Kang will be a part of Phase 3 because how much time has she had since putting in the final
I don't know. That's the big question.
the final edit of Cataclysm?
Would you be
And
happy if she was on a young adult?
oh yeah, I think that her overall storytelling, like just the way that she did do Cataclysm, I think will be great anywhere. Um, if she has other novels, I definitely need to look into it, especially if it's anything that is within my genre of fascination. Um, but yeah, I would be satisfied with Kang anywhere in Phase 3.
Guess so. All right. Well, unfortunately, we've talked about this for 25 minutes, and we still have more panels to talk about, as well as a Mandalorian episode. And I want to go to bed at some point, so we're gonna move on because I'm sad. Um, Look, y'all, we've established that I am old. Okay. 40 years of Return of the Jedi. Legacy of Solo: A Star Wars Story. Solo: A Star Wars Story is 5 years old. Can you believe that?
Wait, what is 5 years old?
Solo: A Star Wars Story.
Oh wow. Oh well, yeah. 2007. Well, 17. No, no, 19. 2000, wait, I can't math. Hold on. It's 2023. So 22, 21, 20, 19, 18. I was there. I was in the ballpark. Do you okay?
All right.
Random
Okay, I
question.
know that.
Still. Oh,
Okay.
go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I know there's a Mandoverse panel on here somewhere. So I was just gonna jump to talking about that. What were you gonna say?
Do you think this is the year to get into any of the solo stuff?
What do you mean?
Whether it be like Akira show or cartoon or like is there anything that Lucasfilm will be daring to touch up upon when it comes to uh kind of going forward with even if it's I know a lot of people have touched on the idea of like not a solo 2 but a solo sequel show on Disney Plus. I know we talked about shows, but again, just throwing Solo out there, might as well go ahead and touch up on it.
Oh,
Uh,
hi, Bleeding Edge. I've completely missed this. If you've reached out to us, um, just feel free to shoot us a text, and we will get back to you, guys.
oh yeah,
Definitely would be down.
yeah, right here below the screen, you can either email us or send us a text. Of course, and that is with anybody that is listening. We always want to hear your feedback, whether it be with our reviews itself, some of your own thoughts on any of the Mando, excuse me, episodes that we are reviewing, any of the books that we're reviewing. We always want to hear back from you guys, so you can leave a voicemail or a text message in regards to how we uh, present your name or whatever. You can always just put your Twitter handle or something. Don't recommend putting your actual information out there in the world. That's just something that I believe in. So again, that hotline number is 830-538-4828, or send us an email at starwarsalliance@gmail.com. And remember, the A in wars is absent. It's not there. It's STARWRSALLIANCE All right.
Yes. All right. So, what do you think is going to happen at the Bad Batch panel on Monday?
Uh, I I want there to be a season 3, which is wild. It is wild how much we have flipped 180 degrees on how season 1 ended and how season 2 ended. Um Either season 3 or as our fellow friend over at a larger view of the force throwing out that wild prediction or uh conclusion that the spider thing that was in Mando was actually um tech in
I know. I hope not.
if they actually confirmed that, do you know how enraged the fandom would be? That the people that actually like Bad Batch. I will admit that there's a whole lot of people who don't like the show, and that is okay. It's not everybody's cup of tea, but a larger view in the Force says, I, for one, cannot wait for season 3 to reveal that Tech is the spider droid from Minds of Mandalore. And of course, Mandalorian season 3. If they had confirmed, if they just flat out say, hey, there isn't going to be a season 3, but we did want to confirm that this spider droid was in fact Tech, um, that's my jaw would drop 100%.
Yeah, completely. Okay, so I did find a better panel summary than the Star Wars Celebration one. So Lucasfilm Publishing and Del Rey Publishing are having their panels on Sunday. And now I sent the Del Rey panel. Or no, I'm sorry. Lucasfilm Publishing. From adult age novels to nonfiction, from kids' comics to audiobook epics, Lucasfilm Publishing explores the stories from a galaxy far, far away, featuring all new announcements, exciting details, and reveals for new and upcoming titles from the time of the High Republic to the time of the First Order. This panel is not to be missed. We've talked about High Republic already. What do you think we would get from First Order?
See, this was when you sent the picture or the tweet that had the photo of the description here. I was trying to think what we could possibly get as far as first order stuff. Um, I guess because I mean we are getting the I guess inklings of a first order in Mandalorian. Like
Yeah.
I guess we could get kind of like the rise of Snoke. I don't know. It's this is I have no area of expertise here as far as like any possibility of what it might be.
um. So I'm gonna throw a name out there that you're gonna have no idea who this is. Or you might have an idea who this is. I don't know. So what if it's kind of a sequel to like Ray Sloan? Because at the end of Aftermath, so Ray Sloan, do you know who Ray Sloan is?
No.
Okay, so Ray Sloan is a female Grand Admiral. She was promoted to Grand Admiral at the end of the Aftermath trilogy, where she got a message from somebody in the Final Order, and was like, "Come bring your people and come join us." So she went off and presumably started building the First Order. Ray Sloan is also in Dawn of the Jedi, I think is what it is. Um, the Rebels prequel novel,
Okay.
written by John Jackson Miller, I believe. Um, so what if it was her story? What if it was a continuation of her story? African American female general, who I believe is also, I think, bisexual. So it's good representation. What would you think about getting a continuation of her story?
Um, I think it would. I mean, like I said, I don't know anything about her, but to open the door a little bit on people who don't know anything about her, um, and to be like, hey, this is a continuing story of this earlier story. I think that you can uh kind of profit on both. People who go
Yeah,
back to the other book buy more copies of that, as well as going into this. I think that could be a good idea. Yeah.
that would be the only one I could really think of because we've gotten Phasma's story. Um, you could do something with like the Huxes, uh, doing something there. Though, um, Armitage Huck, who is the father of General Hux in the sequel trilogy,
Hmm.
he is in Phasma. So you would have to do something with the other Hux.
Do you think that we get and again, I have not read any of these stories if there is something like that. Um uh the story of uh uh Ben Solo becoming Kylo Ren and joining the
Isn't
First
that
Order.
Rise of Kylo Ren?
I'm not entirely sure because like I said, I haven't.
Okay, I thought you read that one. Okay.
No.
That is a Charles Soule comic. Um, and it does have High Republic mentions in it, but that is kind of goes over the aftermath of the Jedi Temple being destroyed on Ossus.
Okay.
So that would
Okay.
be where I would recommend.
All right. Well,
Um,
that would
for
literally be the only two that I could think of. Um, I mean, you could have a hero side of like the first inklings of the First Order,
Bloodline.
and uh, Bloodline would be
Bloodline is Leia's story when she is trying to convince the New Republic that there is another empire because she doesn't know what it's called. There's another empire being built, and that they need to do something about it.
I literally was just about to say it could be a Princess Leia story. And wow, there's all these things that I want already out there, and I just haven't read it yet. And this is why I have a show
He'll
to
get there,
say.
guys. He'll get there, guys. That's right. I am the Jedi Master. You are the Padawan.
Oh man. Um yeah, no, I can't think of anything else. And I'm afraid if I do think of anything else, it's probably already out there. So
Well, the only other panel we really haven't talked about, because I agree with you on everything Bad Batch related. Um, we have, and obviously this is not going to apply to us, but on Monday, 1 to 2 p.m., and the Bad Batch panel is 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. on Monday, with the Lucasfilm Publishing panel, because I didn't say the times there, I've been trying to say the times. Sunday, April 9th, 5:30 to 6:30. I do not have the comics one off the top of my head, but you can find it on StarWarsCelebration.com. So Star Wars Visions Volume 2 is 1 to 2 p.m. on Monday. And it will be Amy Ratcliffe is hosting the panel, and she's got Star Wars Vision's executive producers and filmmakers from Aardman Cartoon Saloon, Dart. Oh my gosh, all of the producing studios from Visions Volume 2 for an exclusive first look at Star Wars Visions Volume 2. So I don't think we're going to get to see that exclusive, but it's only a month away. So be fine, right?
yeah.
Is there any particular story you're hoping for in Visions based on what you've read, or anything you've imagined for Star Wars?
Um I well, I've said that I want there to be another visual sequel to the duel, because of course we already
Okay.
got the novel, which is a full sequel story that has the duel in the very beginning of it anyway. Um so I want
That would be a nice surprise from the publishing panel too, as another Vision story. Sorry.
Yes, yes, actually, I would 100% enjoy another, because we talked about this when the duel came out. In the Ronin was the story that or the novel that came out. It made it feel uh like Star Wars had a multiverse,
Yep.
and I think that is a very interesting idea when it comes to this, because everybody that we have talked to has a little bit of fatigue with the Skywalker saga when it comes to ideas for stories and whatnot. So being able to play within and dabble with a multiverse in no hardcore, like, hey, this is not within the Skywalker saga, so it doesn't break any of its rules, but it also breaks all of its rules, is a really fun concept, and I would really love more of that. So yes to another novel. Um, I am going to say, as far as any predictions as Visions goes, and what I have thought of just in creativity wise, um, I am going to say, I feel like Visions season one had like almost everything under the sun. Very
Yeah.
high in anime influence. There was uh kids dreaming to be Jedi with the little robot kid. I forgot his name. You had
Toby.
um yes, TOB1 was the one that be was able to become a Jedi and wield a lightsaber. Um I don't know. I think if anything, I want to see more of what the was it the seventh Jedi or the ninth? I can't remember if it was seven or nine. Um,
I don't remember either.
it was one of the two. But in concept, what I want is there to be just like the duel, because I think the duel and the seventh or ninth Jedi have something in common in the sense of like it very much feels like there's a greater story to be told. I
Yeah.
want more of that, because even though we may not be getting any of it, just the excitement of it and the pressure that Lucasfilm may feel on possibly pushing more of that stuff out there, I think that helps us as a fandom to possibly getting more of whatever
Yep.
these are. And I think another really cool concept that was in Visions season one was the last episode, where it mirrored a whole lot of what the Skywalker saga was, with the two companions that were just like the droids. You had the Padme character and the Anakin
Yep.
Skywalker character. Um, I would like one of those too, like that it's not so visually obvious, but when in retrospect you're like, oh, that is just like the prequel series, or that's just like the sequel series. I want more of that because just clever storytelling like that is fun to me.
I guess so.
What about you?
So I would agree on having another Anakin Skywalker Padme thing. I think those are really cool, fun story. Not fun, obviously, but they're interesting stories to tell, and they could give you different options for how things could go. Um, in Star Wars universe. Um, I would love to see an Inquisitor based story.
Ooh.
I think like playing off that not necessarily like inquisitorial role, but like the assassin part of it. Sorry. Could be fantastic. Especially in the art form. Um, maybe the Jedi assassin falls in love with the person she's supposed to assassinate or something. Stuff like that because I'm a romantic at heart and I like romance. So, um,
Well, another thing, I know that we've kind of always talked about the possibility of this, but I want Visions to be the first people to do it. I want somebody to do a Star Wars what if. I want them to actually be able to use
mhm.
Skywalker saga characters and tell a story that has a different ending than the main timeline of the Skywalker saga. So if that means that Anakin is able to turn against the dark side and you see like there being a happy ending for the Skywalker family, I think that would be amazing. I know that's something that's very high up on Travis Snell's list of things to eventually see within the world, and stuff like that. I think that would be really fun also.
I think potentially what could happen, I don't think it would happen like as a season, but I think you could expand the Visions concept because now it's not just anime focused, it's just other animation um and everything. So I think you could fully take that and go, okay, Visions Volume 3 and then a subtitle, what if? And then do different what if stories within still within the Visions element, but it's not like a sprinkle. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Um, do you think because correct me if I'm wrong, there is no studio within the United States that's doing an episode, correct?
I believe there's one in California.
Okay. What if we get because you just reminded me, this is playing off of your Inquisitor story idea. What if we get a little bit of an insight on the character that the novel is going to be based off of?
Okay, repeat that.
So the novel, The Rise of the Blade, I believe
Okay.
is the title. What if they take that character and put them in Visions, just as like like a little preview of what we could be getting in the novel? Would you be okay with
That could
that,
be interesting.
or would you want a completely different Inquisitor to play around with?
I wouldn't necessarily mind it being the same Inquisitor. I don't know. I think it defeats the purpose of having that
Non-canon,
character.
yeah, non-canon
Yeah.
characters or whatever. Yeah.
I wouldn't want a Vision story because of how it's been based. I wouldn't want it to be canon unless it was a separate project. And I was incorrect on the California item technically. Um, Dart should. Oh my gosh. One of these shorts was created in collaboration with Lucasfilm, which is why California is on the map for
Oh,
the anime
okay.
production. So, yeah, you've got Spain, Ireland, Chile, United Kingdom, South Korea, France, India, Japan, and South Africa. So those are the big ones.
Okay. Okay, cool.
All right, are we ready to move on to the house divided topic?
Well,
Mandalorian
really quick,
306.
technically this is technically a part of the discussion, but we did get an email. Don't want to
Oh
forget
yes.
about David. He did email us again. It is a very lengthy email. David, I do apologize. I'm not going to read everything. I'm just going to talk a little bit of the points that you had in regards to our discussion last week. So he says these are the little bullet points that he put out. He says you discussed the scene uh with Kane being liberated and how she is seeing to have two faces in the show. Do you know why she seemed to want to push the New Republic away from Navarro? Um, any idea?
I think it's because that's where Gideon was kind of holed up. And he kind of wants that area for himself. So her goal with being within the amnesty program is to to help keep the New Republic away from Navarro and leave it open for Imperial takeback later on.
I think so as well. And if anything, I think that he has a history with Navarro. And so I don't think that Gideon is uh uh is too shy to be like, hey, you guys are the ones that messed up my plans, so I'm gonna mess up your plans. I'm gonna destroy your planet. And I think that he is not above doing that. So I think that is the reason why. Also, David also says, I'm glad y'all felt the same way about the armorer and her request to Bo Katan to remove her helmet. I felt it was out of character for her as well, even if she's the leader of the covert. I don't watch the trailers more than once, if that. So, if so, refreshing to know what we have 100% newly fresh story coming in the last three episodes. Well, we did reiterate that there
Yes.
was the footage that we did leave out was actually all from this episode. So the
Yep.
last two episodes are 100% brand new, never before seen. Um, so uh, it'll be interesting to see. I don't think it's gonna fall flat on its face after this episode, but this episode I feel like it fell for sure. And again, we will definitely talk more about it. Last three bullet points here. Uh Garazeb Aurelios, I made my cat jump when I screamed. You mentioned the lack of last of Lasat in general. Star Wars. I've recently been replaying Jedi Fallen Order and reading the book, which I can't wait to get through. I seem to be enjoying it so far, which makes me laugh a little too. And considering how y'all both enjoyed it, Cal Kestis' master in the game was a Lasset, Jaro Tapal. I wasn't as certain it was him until I heard his voice. Yes, it was. So he also says, I disagree that there's going to be a three-way dispute for Mandalore. The planet, the role, both, either, I'm not sure. I don't think Paz will be the one to topple either the armor who he's followed for years or Bo-Katan who saved his son. What do you think? Oh, well, you know what? That'll get more into the
We'll come back to
discussion.
this one.
Yeah,
We'll come
it'll
back to
definitely
this
go back into
one.
this discussion after this episode. Uh, and he asks, "Who is behind Moff Gideon being gone?" Um, we kind of both answered this a little bit in that episode. We both think it's a cover up in some sort of fashion. You think that it is the who'd you say last episode? The or was
I
no,
don't remember.
it was Taylor. Taylor mentioned the uh oh shoot, what are they called? The Mandalorian type of guards that look like Mandalorians, but they're actually
Uh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. The Imperial troops, something.
I forgot what they're called, but they had the Mandalorian armor, and I think that is it. Um, he said the last point is one I want to hone in on because I have a theory that differs from y'all's both. I don't think Mandalorians are behind being caught or captured. As awesome as it would be to see Bo-Katan rounding up Mandalorians and some of them being under Moff Gideon's rule, I don't think that's likely. I could be wrong though. I think more likely that the Empire is behind it. We already know they have Beskar because of how they paid Din Djarin in Chapter 1 of
Yep.
when retrieving Grogu. Where's the Beskar from? Mandalore. Imperials aren't on Mandalore. They were this season. They destroyed Bo-Katan's castle. So I propose that someone higher up retrieve Moff Gideon. I don't think they're going to introduce a new baddie with the end of the season approaching and Ahsoka coming soon. I think Thrawn is hiding out on Mandalore, freed Moff Gideon, placed Kane in the New Republic, knows tactically how to get Grogu back, uh, by sending the pirates of Navarro in order, blah blah blah, all of that, drawing them in to get Grogu and to send him to Palpatine. That last part is the weakest part of my thoughts, and I don't like it. But I feel in my heart of hearts we're going to see the guy in blue by the end of the season, hoping it's just 10 to 30 seconds of Daniel Craig as Thrawn. That's his big thing. He, I the one thing that I did skip over in the very beginning was there being some sort of rumor or news or somewhat that Daniel Craig was going to be cast in some sort of Star Wars
Yep.
role that wasn't the cameo of the Force Awakens, and so he believes Daniel Craig will be Thrawn. Um, so I will go ahead and say um, we had a small discussion, and I know David talked about how uh, I could probably get to learn to like Thrawn. Um, Again, the mastermind mentality of Thrawn and basically being the god of Star Wars and being the puppeteer to make everything move the way it should. I don't like it. I don't like it. I think it makes him way too powerful of a character. Um, I know people would it would make their brains melt and freaking sing all the glory to Favreau and Filoni, but I will not like it if that happens. I might have a little bit of an eye roll if it does happen, but it all depends on how it's written and how good it is. Unlike
I
this
still
episode.
think I still think you should save your opinion on Thrawn as a canon character until you read the canon Thrawn novels because
Okay.
they take a different perspective on Thrawn. That was one of my biggest complaints about them because I liked Heir to the Empire Thrawn. Um David, so you did ask where we made our tiers of the books. You can look that up on tiermaker.com. I believe it's 2023 Star Wars books ranking. And that's how you can make a tier maker. Feel free to send it and we can talk about it. And then he asked about the book club that we mentioned in Shadow of the Sith. Y'all, we are always down to have a book club. If a couple more people are like, yes, we'd love to read along the book with you guys, then basically what would probably happen is we would probably record those episodes individually and then you would get them on the end of like a podcast episode and we would go week to week and then kind of answer any questions you had the previous week on the live episode.
Yeah.
So that's what will probably happen. I'm still down to do that. And obviously that if there's not enough, then maybe we do that on Patreon. So where I don't know. We can talk about it, but if people are interested, definitely just let us know. Email or text.
Yeah,
So
for sure. I think that the book club idea would be very, very fun. Of course, um, I have never joined a book club myself. I do know that Katie is part of a book club, I do believe.
yep.
And is it per chapter? Is it every couple chapters? How do y'all usually do things?
So We do it by month, which is where we had kind of talked about maybe doing like one book a month, where then you would read that book and then kind of come prepared for the episode and like do questions. So we could totally do it that way, where like we talked about doing Tarkin, for instance.
Hmm.
We could do Tarkin, and then kind of you read Tarkin and then you know, hey, by this date I should have questions in on Tarkin if you want to do that. And then we could do it that way, or we could do a couple chapters a week and kind of try and knock out a book a month doing it that way. So whatever your preference is, guys. We're definitely flexible and I'm always down to get Clay reading more of these books. So
For sure. I do think doing several chapters a week would be better for the overall podcast and the way the format is going. Um, but I am very much intrigued in a book club. And remember, uh, we will probably need more people in order to do it. So if people show more interest for it, we will definitely do it. But that is all for our feedback section. Thank you, David, once again, and any and all who want to send in an email, or of course, like we said, send a text or a voicemail to the Star Wars hotline, or Star Wars Alliance hotline, excuse me. The number is 830-538-4828. So don't be afraid to text or send that voicemail. All right. Well, now it is time for the very polarizing divided house here at Star Wars Alliance.
and I think this is a great way to start it off. I think this is a great way to start off. My sister just texted me, um, literally 2 minutes ago. Is that dot 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 Lizzo and Jack Black?
Ugh.
And I told her yes, and she said OMG, laughing face.
I turned this episode on. Of course,
I was
got
proud of
my.
you. You slept and didn't watch it at 3 a.m.
I thought about it because I was streaming a video game last night and I played until midnight and like I was already dozing off. I'm like, I'm about to fall asleep on camera and anybody can just jump into the stream and just find me sleeping in this chair. So I was like, yeah, not doing that. Decided to sleep. Um, and I was able to turn it on. Me and my baby, Amber Lynn, decided to wear matching Star Wars Mandalorian garb, of course. And so I turned it on, started off great. And then those doors opened. I saw that giant table and I said out loud, that is Jack Black in Star Wars. And then I realized, oh, that is Lizzo in Star Wars. And
I gotta
then
say, Lizzo looked good.
she
Lizzo
did.
looked good.
She looked really good. I really liked the um I don't even know what to call it. Her little
You should
hologram
call it, yeah, the
the
the outfit and then the hologram, like,
peacock thing that was
yeah.
just like hovering over her. Really loved that. Love the design. But and this is
Sorry.
okay. So of course, Jack Black looks like a cartoon himself with that giant COVID beard that he grew. Um, but then the one thing that broke me was the moment Lizzo's character says, "Oh, can I hold the baby?" And I'm like, "Oh, that's the only reason why they're in this episode." Is literally to be seen on screen next to Grogu and then they can say, "Hey, I was in Star Wars with Grogu." Like that is literally it.
I don't think
We
that's why Jack Black was in Star Wars. I think that's maybe why Lizzo was in it. But I mean, okay, if Lucasfilm called you up and said, "I want you to be in a Star Wars show,
Oh,
but all I
I'm
want you to
going
do
to
is hold the baby," what are you gonna do?
I'm going to say yes because nobody knows who I am. But if I'm Jack Black or Lizzo, I think, like, for me, in all honesty, I think there is a 100% reason why we don't see Prince Harry in The Rise of Skywalker. Because if you remember, royalty was filming, I believe it was The Rise of Skywalker, or it may have been The Last Jedi. I can't remember which one. But the princes were of the royal family were going to be in a Star Wars film. Those scenes were cut. And I think the reason why is because they're too damn famous. Sorry. It's just the way things are.
But Daniel Craig's stormtrooper scene is in The Force Awakens.
Do you see Daniel Craig's face?
Why would they cut the princes? They were in stormtrooper outfits.
No, I believe they
No.
were they stormtroopers? Because I want to say that they were actual fighters for the uh for the resistance, not stormtroopers.
Here's how to spot Princes William and Harry in Star Wars. They have secret cameo appearances in the latest film. They're dressed as stormtroopers in an elevator scene with actors John Boyega, they misspelled John, Tom Hardy, and Gary Barlow, according to The Hollywood Reporter.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Because I heard them being like, because
They
I
weren't
also
actually
want
cut. They're there in stormtrooper outfits.
see, then I may have been gotten a because I think there's a set photo out there that has them sitting in either an X-wing or a Y-wing cockpit, and it may have been just them visiting the set. Like,
Yeah, might have just been like a press photo.
okay, either way, you look at Joseph Gordon-Levitt, not in. You don't see Joseph Gordon-Levitt. You see an alien.
Okay, but come on, when's the last time Joseph Gordon-Levitt had like a big role?
Uh,
The
shit.
last movie I remember him being in is Looper and then The Dark Knight Rises. I'm sorry. Obviously, this is like there's
I
no like Jack Black and Lizzo are not going to be stormtroopers. There's
no,
just they
they're
don't
not gonna be
fit
they're not gonna be
in that role.
stormtroopers. They're see, I would say even this. I would say even this. I think you can get away with Lizzo. I honestly think that you can get away with Lizzo. Yes, Lizzo has been all over TikTok. Yes, she has her music and her music videos and her tours. And I think there's a lot of people that will enjoy that cameo for what it is. That's Lizzo in Star Wars. But I'm going to go ahead and say this. I think there's a whole shit ton of boomers that watch Star Wars stuff that don't know a fucking thing about Lizzo and they just see somebody in Star Wars. That's it. But I do think boomers know Jack Black enough to be like, hey, that's Jack Black. That's just me though. And talking about Joseph Gordon-Levitt, his last big thing that I can personally remember was holy shit, I forgot that he was a voice in Star Wars Visions. Was probably god damn. Holy shit. What I have holy crap. It was Sin City A Dame to Kill For back in 2014 was the last thing that I recognized him
Mhm.
as being like a big thing a part of. Um and before that was Looper in 2012. You're right. Um Jesus.
See, so like I did not even recognize him. Seeing him, and obviously, like when he went to the Force Awakens like premiere, he was dressed as Yoda and everything. But I went and looked at a recent picture of him. I didn't recognize him at all, and I loved him in Dark Knight Rises, and I made
well
an
no, like
effort to keep track of his stuff.
of course you didn't recognize Joseph Gordon-Levitt because he was an alien. He was the guy that says, "Oh,
And
it's him. It's him." When they're at
no, but
Canto
I'm
Bight.
saying like if he had been who he was in Star Wars, I don't think I would have recognized him. Honestly, I didn't
Oh,
recognize
okay, okay.
Lizzo. I said like I was like, who is that? That's got to be somebody for like a cameo. And then I looked it up and I was like, oh, okay, it's Lizzo.
See, that just proves that I've been on TikTok way too much.
And see, I
As
don't have TikTok. So, um,
all in the game does agree with me. He does say Daniel Craig as a stormtrooper is the way to do it. Um, I did not think that you could be too famous for Star Wars. We have had this discussion before.
mhm,
We have called out Travis on thinking because there's 3 cameos in this episode.
mhm.
First 2 jarring. I was like, I don't like this at all. The third one was probably the bigger of the 3, and it felt so natural.
See, and I'm gonna repeat what I said to Snell and then you in the Geekverse Discord channel. I don't think it's fair because otherwise, how do you get such like awesome moments with these other actors? Also, how is Lucasfilm gonna pass up free promo from TikTok stars and Jack Black? Like, let's be real now. That's promo right there. That's out the wazoo.
It is. It is.
And I don't like this is a job to them, obviously. So like they made money off of this and everything, and I don't think it's fair to go, oh, you're too famous, you can't be in a Star Wars, or you have to be an alien. Like I loved seeing Lizzo get to be the ruler of a planet in this. I think
And again,
that's a
and
great
again,
moment.
for me, I think if Lizzo was standing next to somebody who wasn't so famous as Jack Black, that would have been fine. But I think with Lizzo and Jack Black, that's what made it jarring. And I was like, I'm not okay with this.
See, I breezed right past it. I was like, oh, cool, that's Jack Black, and I believe that's Lizzo. And I breezed right past it. I loved the absurdity of this episode. It was hysterically silly. It's the only filler episode we've gotten this season. This is the closest thing I would classify as filler.
But what did I say? I got the numbering wrong. I said with 9 episodes, you can't afford to
Yeah,
have you can't afford to have filler. And you're like, oh well, technically there's 8. That's even more. That's it's even worse to have filler.
it makes it worse, yes. But how much filler have we had in previous seasons of The Mandalorian? This has been the most plot-filled episode where every episode is like, okay, we're moving forward. We're going great. Like, this is fantastic. And then you get this episode. Episodes 7 and 8 are traditionally the most emotionally intense episodes of The Mandalorian. Do you agree or disagree?
Wait, say it again. What was the phrasing you put there?
Episodes 7 and 8 of previous seasons of The Mandalorian have been the most emotionally jarring episodes.
Yes. Yes. 7 and 8 on every season of The Mandalorian so far, being 1 and 2, have pushed it to be very plot heavy. That is 100% true. This
So what's wrong with having a little bit of fun before you get to the emotional shit?
I'm okay. I even said it in the Discord. I think you can have fun with Star Wars. This felt like, hey, we're just gonna do stuff because we don't care, and because Mandalorian is one of the top rated shows on Disney Plus, and we are allowed to do whatever we want. Here you go, Lizzo and Jack Black. Like that's what it felt like. And for me, it just feels weird. Now, I will say, everything after those 2 cameos, the investigation, everything with Bo-Katan and Din Djarin, I almost wanted this episode to be animated because it felt like Clone Wars. Like that
Yep.
portion. I really enjoyed that. I think what helped that feeling of it being Clone Wars was because this was so droid heavy. It really brought me back to, of course, what you were making the defense of in the Discord was that this was very prequel era. Like, hey, this is the influence that we have. I agree. I just don't necessarily agree with, oh, this is exactly what George Lucas would have done.
And this is 100% what George Lucas would have done. This is 100%. This is exactly what the Phantom Menace got when it was reacted to when it came out. What the heck is this shit? I didn't ask for politics in Star Wars. I didn't ask for these people in Star Wars. I didn't ask for Samuel L. Jackson in Star Wars. Like, why are these people here? Samuel
Now,
L. Jackson was super famous when Phantom Menace came out, and he's even more famous now. He was not a hidden person when Phantom Menace came out.
so On the Game does want to put it out there that Famuyiwa's writing on the show, he prefers Famuyiwa's writing on the show compared to Favreau. Wish he could write an entire season by himself. Well, I will say this: I'm not 100% going to agree with you on there. I do agree that Famuyiwa's writing is probably better than Favreau's, but I think the best part of The Mandalorian in both seasons 1 and 2 and even 3 so far is the fact that every episode is directed by someone else. We get a little different type of course, directing with all of that, and I just think that it works a little bit better that way. Um, what do you think?
So for me, I think Favreau closed the writing room because of how many leaks we had last season. You had everybody leaking things. We knew Mercedes was going to be in it. We knew Katie Sackhoff was going to be in it. We knew Rosario Dawson. And there's several other things that we knew in season 2 of Mandalorian before anything dropped. The only thing we did not know was that Luke Skywalker was going to be in the final episode. We didn't
Yeah,
know that. We didn't
I
even know he
think
was going to be in the show.
I think that was in the fine print will be fined X amount of $1 million if this leaks. I honestly think it was something like
I
that.
I do think Favreau needs a writing room though.
Yeah.
The scripts are pretty atrocious. In most cases. I will say yes, there's some that have been good. And he's had Noah Kluwer assisted on one, and then Filoni has assisted on two. So, and Filoni's writing the next episode. Is assisting writing the next episode. So
Now, what really hurt me was at the very end, it says directed by, it says Bryce Dallas Howard. I was reminded that this was Bryce Dallas Howard's episode, and it hurt me so much because, again, if it weren't for those two cameos, I think the episode would have been on par with the rest of the season. And I still would have been like, this is a great season. This is a fun
why are you
season.
gonna let why are you gonna let two actors just having fun ruin an episode of Star Wars?
Well, here's the thing though. I want to go back to who was it that said it? I believe fellow friend of the podcast, Rick Shu. He kind of ruined a cameo for me, but I didn't even think about it until I actually saw the cameo. He posted the gif of uh uh oh shoot, Christopher Lloyd from Back to the Future, uh, and I was like, "What does that mean?" Because it's just like Christopher Lloyd like kind of looking off to the side in Back to the Future and then walking off. I was like, "I don't know what that means." And then I saw Christopher Lloyd in the episode, and I was like, "Oh, that's what he was talking about." But he says in his reply to that GIF, he says, "I love weird Star Wars," and that was one weird mf'er. But did I love it? No, not really. Did I like it? Yeah, I did. But I did love the last 5 minutes. On side note, this one is not for the haters of the prequels. The last 5 minutes of this episode, the fight with Bo-Katan, that is the Bryce Dallas Howard directing that I know. That
See, but
is
I'm gonna
what I
disagree
want
with
to
you
see
on that.
more.
I think Bryce Dallas Howard put exactly what she wanted in this episode. We had another alien romance at the start of the episode. We had the Quarren Mon calamari,
Yes.
and that's how we started with, and that's how we figured out where the Mandalorian group was and everything with Axe Wolves. Um, and so I think the directing in this episode really works, and she's using it to kind of speak the language of how Bo-Katan is growing as a character and as a leader, because the
Mhm.
last episode that Bryce Dallas Howard directed was The Heiress, which was the introduction for Bo-Katan in live action.
Yes.
So I think she picked this episode particularly to show, okay, we had the weird cult guy and Bo-Katan and how they were interacting and everything. And this is how they moved forward. This is how they've grown as a character in a platonic, romantic, whatever you want to say, relationship. And this is how they're working together. They worked flawlessly together. And it wasn't necessarily spoken out loud, but it was just shown to you. And it goes, okay, this is how they're doing. This is what they're doing. And then the little banter back and forth with like the well, you didn't need to hit the droid. You didn't need to kick the droid. And he was like, well, I found the right droid, didn't I? Like, that was not something that could have happened in Mando season 2.
Yeah. I'll agree
So
with you.
there's a lot of growth. And I think Bo Katan shows that pretty effortlessly with what she has. I will disagree with you, and I'm going to take from Chris Worms at Minot Manor because he said exactly what I was thinking. I think the fight at the end of this episode, I think it needed another 5 minutes to really articulate and like give it the breath of glory that it deserves. Because our background image with Din Djarin and the Darksaber is no longer relevant because he's passed it off to Bo-Katan.
Is this in his review? Minot
He
Manor?
did not write a review. He tweeted it, and it's
Okay.
in ROT13, so you're gonna have to translate it. Um,
Okay.
But basically, what he said was that I think Mando is a fun show, but it's choosing to make a lot of safe choices. And giving the Darksaber to Bo in this manner is a completely safe choice that Favreau and the story group should have gone, okay, how can we make this a little more complex for her as a character? And instead of, because the way Din gives it to her, because Axe Wolves and Bo are all like, well, you can't give it to me. Like, it has to be one through competition. We go back to episode 2, or was it episode 1? One of the two, where Bo rescues Din from the spider guy, the spider tech thing.
Yes, 2.
And she rescues him. He was captured, and we pull some Elder Wand shit out here. I don't hate me for the Harry Potter reference. This was like the best way I could describe it.
I do not like this part of the
I don't
episode
like it either. I don't like it
because
either.
because I don't think it's something that I don't think it's within Bo-Katan's character to accept.
I could have said that in like right after it. If he had tried to hand her the saber on Mandalore and said, "Well, technically, you won this for me because I was captured and you defeated my capture." If he had handed that to her then, but her seeing the mythosaur has changed her entire perspective and has gone, okay, you know what? And I think it's the help from the other Mandalorians where Axe Wolves and Coscar Reeves are all going, yeah, technically that means she got it. I think that helps her along here. But if it was on Mandalore, I don't think she would take it.
I can agree with that. I just felt like there was, and I don't know if this was on purpose. There was a awkward like pause when he offered the saber to her, as if she was thinking, "No, this isn't mine." Right? And that's where I felt like, "Hey, she's actually going to deny it." But I can see like, okay, since everybody else is agreeing, like this is mine now. Um, and that may just be me and my preference of like this is too easy, but it may just be because there's only 2 episodes left in this season. Um,
Mhm.
and we may need to move along. I think if there was maybe 1 or 2 more episodes, they could have drawn it out a little bit more for her to earn it, quote unquote, earn it. Technically,
Yeah.
she did earn it, but it just feels very weird to accept it like this. Uh,
It's a safe choice and it could have been so much better done
mhm,
a different way. This
yeah,
show really needs 10 to 12 episodes. It really needs 10 to 12 episodes.
it I'm scared to say it needs 10 to 12 episodes, but at the same time, it needs 10 to 12 episodes, you know?
Also,
I'm
I would just like to point out on Rick's Twitter, He tweeted The Mandalorian Chapter 22 Guns for Hire, and then an image written and directed by George Lucas.
Where is it?
It's right below the tweet you were sharing about.
That's hilarious.
I'm just saying, it's not just me and Taylor. Like, it's literally, like, not just us. But in relation to the Star Wars Alliance poll that I tweeted this morning,
Yes, I was gonna bring that up.
so I said Star Wars Alliance is a house divided because I was like, as soon as Clay goes, okay, I got the baby up, we're dressed, we're gonna watch the episode. I was like, oh, I can't wait for this. I can't wait to see what he's gonna say about Jack Black. Like, he's gonna love this shit. And then he goes, what the fuck was that? And I was like, what? No. So okay, so I said, did you like or dislike today's episode? And the options were my jam and it was too silly. We got 14 votes, 64.3% my jam. It was too silly, 35.7. I
Now,
win.
now I feel like it is a little misleading because the overall episode I enjoyed. But if you were to specifically call out the cameos, I think we would have had a completely different result. Just want to point that out there as well. So,
Well, make your own poll and then we can talk about it next week.
I will go ahead and make a poll. I will do it after the show.
Before
But,
Elon Musk bans polls on.
but I have said I think that the rest of the episode was good. I'm not going to say amazing or great. Some of the points that I do want to call out. The moment where I forgot his name that Bo-Katan is dueling at the end of the episode,
Axe Wolves.
Axe. The moment he shoots a rocket and Bo-Katan dodges it by shooting up in the air, that rocket goes right next to Din Djarin. Din Djarin does not move a freaking muscle. He is a freaking statue. He was not scared of that explosion whatsoever. Just shows how much of a badass he is. Absolutely love it. Um, but yeah, other than the two cameos, really enjoyed this episode. I still think that the end of this season can still win. I'm because the really funny thing about this whole conversation is uh for this entire season, I told Travis Snell that he was being a Debbie Downer for the Mandalorian. So much so that he's bullying Taylor on to Star Wars Alliance to talk the finale if a certain character shows up. And we'll talk about that here in a second. But uh when I put in my 2 cents in the Discord, Travis was like, "Oh, who's being the Debbie Downer now?" And it was just to kind of call me out for what calling him that this season for the season. But me and Travis actually agree on something for a change. Um
It
so
was just like saying, it was so funny watching Snell react in the Discord this morning. He goes, what the fuck is this? Like, losing his ever loving mind. And I was just cackling. And it was so hard because I was trying to cackle while not waking up Matt. And it was just so
I
funny.
didn't so all I saw as the reactions were his gifts that he was sending, but I'm just now reading it. He says, "I'd take 5 more canceled movies to get rid of all of this."
What the fuck is happening? You gotta be fucking kidding me.
Oh,
This is
that
the
is
lowest
hilarious.
Disney Star Wars has been.
Um, and so my thing was, as soon as I saw the cameos, I had to respond. I said, I haven't even finished the episode, and I hate it. You were so upset. You're like, no, Clay, what's wrong with you? Don't go to the dark side. Uh, and I said that the first two just feel like they wanted to call in a Hollywood favor to be in a scene with Grogu. As I said before, Travis then agreed with that with a gif of Palpatine saying, "You have done well." So the other thing that he very much agreed to was when you said that Star Wars is allowed to have fun and be silly at times, I said that Star Wars is allowed to be fun, just not parodied in its own universe. You disagreed in the idea of it being a parody. I think when you do something like this, it is almost like the play in Thor Ragnarok with Matt Damon.
No,
Yes,
not at
yes.
all.
100%. It is
What?
it is
Okay,
almost that level without being that. I said that it's not Ragnarok level, but
I
if
was trying to figure out what you meant by that.
yes, if Mandalorian continues to allow this type of thing, it'll get to that point. That's what Travis was saying. I think that I'm not gonna be like, oh, Mandalorian is ruined and Star Wars is down the shithole. Like, no, I'm not gonna say that. But I do believe that this if they keep allowing these types of cameos, it could very easily go down the road of Ragnarok, and that's something I do not want.
See, I disagree. I disagree so much, and I laughed hysterically at the Ragnarok play though. So, but I I don't think this is a parody. Like it's not even the definition of a parody. So when you and Snell were saying that, I'm like, I don't even understand what you're saying by it being a parody. Like that doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. Because we're on a planet in Star Wars. This is not like this is a utopian society, theoretically. It's within the New Republic. They talk all the things. We learn more about the New Republic amnesty program, like how oh, you can get outside of Coruscant in the program, but not have you can't maintain military controls. You can't like own weapons, like nothing that could cause you to bring things against the New Republic.
Mhm.
And so I think that's all very interesting things to say. I think like honestly, I don't like Jack Black didn't act like Jack Black in this. Like he just looked like Jack Black. And honestly, the beard reminded me of something of like an aristocrat on Coruscant, and maybe that's where he got it from. Like I don't know. I I just think this was a great episode. It was not a parody. Um and also Christopher Lloyd's part in this was much more important than Jack Black or Lizzo's. And you
Yeah,
called his role small and subtle.
yeah, I do think that his performance was subtle because I will say this, I think Christopher Lloyd has the acting capability as well as the experience in the sci-fi genre to just be like, "Yeah, I'm a part of this world." Whereas, like, Jack Black is like
You can't
he's
tell me
the
you didn't see Jack Black as a rich, posh diplomat on Coruscant, all hoity-toity and above himself, and like he wouldn't fit perfectly in.
maybe
Like the
m
like the
if you
Twi'lek senator
if
guy
if you
from
give me
Clone Wars.
if you give me that scenario, then yeah, maybe. But because again, the way they film this, he is front row and center, like cameras right on him, like just the way they filmed the scenes with him being a part of it, it made him too much of the focal point. If he was in an ensemble cast on Coruscant talking all the rich hoity-toity stuff, yeah, he would probably blend in. But because he was front row and center in this episode in a very white, bright room where it's like, "Hey, I'm Jack Black." Like, yeah, he was the black sheep of this episode. Like you saw him and you're like, "Oh, that's Jack Black."
I'm not disagreeing with you, but I moved past it because I was just like, yeah, whatever. Also, did you even notice that Frog Lady was in this episode?
Was she? Was she at the table?
She's at the table.
Okay. I I I know that they've done that several times where like they will have previous characters in other scenes just so like people can catch them. So I did not notice her. So that's kind of funny. Considering Grogu ate all of her babies. Um but One thing that also just kind of stood out to me, just because I know a little bit of the lore and weaponry of Star Wars, for one of the guards to literally just pulled out a normal looking sword felt off to me. I'm like, why wasn't that like a vibroblade or something? Like,
I don't think they were allowed to have any electronic weapons because you look at like the staff that they hold with like the blades on the end, and they're completely regular weapons.
but
Because I think,
is a blade considered a electronic weapon?
yeah,
Hold on, I don't think it is. Okay, yeah, no, it just says right here, uh,
bladed
vibroblade.
knife. So it's a knife, which is maybe why. So maybe we were getting like vibro sword. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, that I mean, just because like I've played some Star Wars video games and they have like the long I guess they would be called vibro swords, but they called them vibro blades. Um and it just like it looks a little bit more Star Wars, whereas this dude took out a sword and he looked legit like freaking part of Merlin's round table. Like it just looked like a regular sword and I was like this is kind of weird, but that's just
All
me.
right, I made break because I was trying to show you this commando droid with a vibro sword because I didn't notice the vibro sword. It's totally freezing.
Well, your camera and everything's good, so I think you're okay. So,
Okay, I just can't see myself. So if I look stupid, please don't tell me.
but I mean, other than that, I think that everything else was good in the episode. If any of you guys have any other opinions, of course, like we have been telling you all episode, the Star Wars Alliance hotline 830-538-4828. You can always send us a text or a voicemail voicing your opinion on our takes or your own. You can always shoot us an email, starwarsalliance@gmail.com. And then, of course, uh, our DMs are open for Twitter, so you can always message us there. Um, is there anything else, Katie?
I don't think so. Make sure you're here next week. We're gonna be going over Star Wars Celebration news. Um, all of the hot details. I'm very excited to like go through the nitty gritty. I will be doing daily roundups on Full Circle Cinema. Um, to kind of get all of the news into one spot for each day, but you can also after each panel they tend to drop an article on starwars.com with pictures and everything that you can go check out if you're not like us and are going to be hounding live tweeters on Twitter for all of the news. So if you're looking for roundups, those will be the places to be. And again, starwars.com is going to have like every single panel. I'll be covering the main ones. So
Very nice. Well, of course, you can always find me at Fanboy Clay on Twitter. You can look me up on Mastodon as well. Of course, I am a part of Ranger Alliance on the network. Again, reminder: we did not have a crossover episode in the month of March, so we're going to attempt to get two of them here in April. I'm sure Mario will be a big topic of discussion on our first one. Um, but be
also,
on
stay
the
tuned for the Slice of Film review episode for it.
yes, of course. And that is it for me. Katie, what about you?
So, y'all, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram. It's at Slice of Katie. Social media, where to just explode, go everywhere. Please go to my personal website. It's sliceofkatie.com. So you can check where I will be at there. You can also check where this show will be at, as well as my other show on the Geek Clothing Alliance podcast network, Slice of Film. Slice of Film. We just had Mission Impossible 3 drop, and I failed to tweet about it. So you know what? It is what it is. I've been good about it though. And I did a lot of tweeting for Star Wars Alliance today and yesterday. So props to me. Um,
And I also want to go ahead and let others know if you are following Katie in her journey to the most of the missions that are impossible. Mission Impossible 4 Ghost Protocol is available on our Patreon currently. So if you would
Yes.
like to join and listen to that, you are always welcome to.
Yes. Um, and I just recorded Indiana Jones Last Crusade with Chris. That was an awesome episode. So that will be available end of April. So those are the episodes you can come to expect for Slice of Film. Um, Obviously Mario is the other one. So Star Wars Alliance. Like we said, Star Wars Alliance Love the 8 in the Wars on Twitter. 830-538-4828 to send us a text or leave us a message for the show. You can also send us an email, Star Wars Alliance without the A in the Wars at gmail.com. And remember, those are how you get in the giveaway. Just send us a text, leave us a voicemail, or email us. And then don't forget to rate and review us on your favorite podcatcher of choice. Again, I hate to bug y'all about it, but those really do help us out a ton. So with that, I want to wish everyone a great day or night, whatever time of day you are listening or watching, and we will see y'all next time. May the force be with you.